Manever I say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there, I see them yopo.
Morning to you. Good morning to your listeners and watchers. Good morning to my fellow panelists. Honorable Boafo, it's a pleasure meeting you for the first time. I've heard so much about you. Nice to meet you. As for my big brother and my uncle, we talk often, so it's good to be back here. As for you, sometimes the least said, the better, but I'll see you in the car park after the show. For finally recognizing that I had some relatives who were destroying this country, because if I recall, some years back, you are one of their biggest advocates, and I warned you about them. Senna, I have often told you that some of the people running this government deserve to be in a mental hospital. But you see, unfortunately, they have also stolen the mental hospital. You see? So, when the time comes where they need dormitories and tents in the mental hospital, I wonder where we will have to put them. Senna, a finance minister, that's if he is indeed the finance minister, in anything but name, tells us that we should be excited that he is gone and rescheduled our execution. Because that's what in a sense they've done. You are a condemned man. Then the head of the jail cell walks into your jail cell and tells you, hey, be happy. We've rescheduled your execution. That makes us really happy. Because rescheduling the death is basically kicking the can down the road for posterity to pay. Right? Rescheduling that debt is like Pontius Pilate washing his hands. But even worse is that the finance minister told us that we should understand that if we invest in government bonds, it's our own decision. Hey, Master, what about Amana? What is the finance lexicon for government bonds? It is called the risk-free rate bond. The risk-free rate assumes that you can rely on government paper. The government issues the paper, and after they default, we are told by the finance minister that it's your own doing. So why is there a law in this country that mandates that when you are paid, the money must go to a bank? Do you remember that during the old days, you are paid your cash at the account's office, and if you decide to put it under your bed, that's your business. Now, the law mandates that you are paid by electronic transfer into a bank account. Why do we have that law, Mr. Finance Minister? And instead of offering us an unqualified apology for the dross that you people have instituted in this country over the last 8 years, you go and sit in London at a so-called fundraiser where you claim that you made 1.2 million pounds. The people who were sitting there, how could they have contributed 1 million pounds, 1.2 million pounds? Another money laundering operation, right? And then when you finish, you talk to us from abroad. Yeah, that's it. On December 7, we will talk to you from here. And make sure that there isn't even 4 big pens missing in that office. Because you will account for every single thing. And don't come and tell us that you've only been there for a short time. Don't try to use any back channels to get to President Mahama or anybody else that you didn't know about what was going on. Because like my brother, who I would like to meet in the car park after this show, said, Kweku Kwati refused the post. A lot of people don't know that. So it's not everybody in the MPP who is unprincipled. Kweku Kwati absolutely refused to get involved with this rubbish. Because Kweku Kwati didn't want to have to carry Kenuforiata to spring meetings at World Bank when he was supposed to have been sacked, wearing his white, still reading his Bible verses when he's put us where he's put us. During the so-called banking crisis, whatever it is that they called it, you spent 25 billion cedis to solve a 9 billion cedi problem. There were banks that were owed money by contractors the government hadn't paid, and you closed it down for insolvency. Who does that? I mean, unfortunately, one of them was Kwesi Ndum's bank. But for Kwesi Ndum, it's good for him. Because he was the one tweeting prior to 2016 that President Mahama must go. So President Mahama went. There's an old Chinese saying, be careful what you wish for, because you may just get it. You got what you wish for. Now you see the rate at which his gray hair is grown. You see the rate at which his hair is falling out. You got what you wish for, Kwesi Ndum. Next time, be good to your creditors because they know who you are. The NDC gave you your banking license. Right? But you ran around, President Mahama was go. The NDC brought you to this country. Be good to your creditors. They know who you are. Now, you are complaining you want your license back. So what? The MPP won't give you your license back. And then you pray on a future NDC government to give you your license. They will give your license to me to give to you.
Why you don't want to give to him?
Huh?
You don't give to him.
He begged, he prayed. You know his tweets.
Yes.
Mahama must go. And Mahama went.
Mahama is back. You will give it to him.
They will give his license to me. You see, my brother, a lot of people have suffered. And the finance minister was glibly saying, oh, we know some people have died. Hell yes, some people have died. There are some people who can't pay for medication, they are ill. People have spent 35 years working and saving. Their savings are gone. And you glibly just say, oh, people have died. Some of the people whose emoluments from their pensions you've rescheduled, you said they should come back and start collecting the money at the same rate of interest when they are 78. But the life expectancy of a Ghanaian man is 62. The life expectancy of a Ghanaian woman is 67. So none of the men or women will meet the money. In theory. Because at any rate, at a certain age, many of us as people of Negroid origin will start developing certain diseases. It's fact, it's in our genotype. If you don't have money to buy the medication for hypertension, for cholesterol, for diabetes, and all those associated diseases, which are not just lifestyle diseases, they are diseases of genotype and phenotype, how are you going to live to go and collect the money that Kenuforiata has squandered? And yet, MPP ministers today are the biggest real estate developers in this country. You know why? Because the money they've stolen, they can't take it abroad anymore. So they are, we say in tree or almost Danehu, they are using it to build humongous estates. Go around all the prestigious areas in Accra. It's not uncommon to see that somebody's house has been bought, is broken, and an 8-story building is coming up. Ask who owns it. And they are using shell companies, third-party companies. I mean, what government steals land belonging to mental patients? You see, Honorable, hopefully you get to Parliament. Sure. And you people need to ask questions. Which group of people take land belonging to children? They've stolen children's park. This and other children's park. They've stolen it. Which group of people take land belonging to a place that has been mandated since 1950 to cultivate flora and fauna that is rare orchids, parks and gardens? They've stolen it. And then they steal mental hospital. About them for assassin Maria. What does that say about you? What does that say about a person who goes foraging to steal from people who have mental challenges? The colonialists, who we can say had really no interest in this our country, for whom we said we wanted self-government, knew that there were areas in the city that needed to be green no matter what. They knew that you had to allot places for children to play. They knew that society had a place for places like Boston Institute, Correctional Institute, within a city where underage offenders could be brought back into the mainstream. The NPP have stolen Boston Institute. They have stolen the children's park. They have stolen mental hospital. And today, it is not uncommon for them to sell the car park of schools. There's a certain school in Accra. I won't mention the name. They have emasculated part of their car park. And somebody is developing office buildings in the car park. The school is a cantonment. Those who know the school know what the school I'm talking about. So when, at what level do we say that enough is enough? Do the MPP want to see what happened in Kenya for them to sit down? Do the MPP want to see what happened in Burkina Faso for them to sit down? Or do they want to go further? For them to realize that there is a point at which we need to withdraw and say, thus far, no further. President Rawlings ran this country for 19 years. He actually made AC Sutherland Abbey Park better, put more toys, more swings, grew more grass there, and gave it a name. Then people came to power. They are stealing it. And you know what they do? They say, in the name of public-private partnership. Right? As we speak now, the prisons land at cantonments. That one too. The people have been told to move. Because we've given it to a private. So, when does it stop? And unless people begin to stand up and say enough, like the people at Parks and Gardens have said, we are not moving. Like the prisons officers have said, we are not moving. You are not selling Boston Institute. No matter what you do, we are going to die here with you. You put up the wall, we break it. It doesn't matter how many national security operatives you bring, because we ourselves are national security operatives by definition. Unless people stand up, like the people of CSIR stood up and said, you are not selling our land. That is the land opposite the WAEC place in Roman Ridge. CSIR, they said, no, you are not selling it. Unless people begin to act, this is what we want. But Dr. Mohammed Amin will come and tell us this utter rubbish, right? Complete bull crap about the economy, that the economy is going to perform. An economy whose debt to GDP ratio now sits at 86.4% and is projected to hit 95% by the end of this year. You sit in London and you tell us this crap and rubbish because you think we are all idiots. You are a token. You have been a team for say oh my ya oh my baby foul and made you a token. Are you serious? Sana, an unspoken part of what happened to people's finances during this, whatever it is that they call it. I don't call it DDEP. I call it death and destruction. Many of the people who had treasury bills, at the time the city was tanking, wanted the treasury bills, Colonel Foretta gave an instruction that nobody should be paid. So the people were not paid. And the banks did arbitrage on people's treasury bills. So when the city tanked and they finally got it, they had lost value. For some, as much as they recovered as in nominal value, and if you understand what I'm saying, nominal value, some recovered only 25%. And you say then you tell us the economy is going to get better. And who's watch? Because you people go to sit on a board meeting, one board meeting at commercial bank, you collect $34,000. Right? Clearly the economy is good for you. But not for the rest of us, who have saved our money over time. I mean, when you are young, what are you taught by your parents? When you say BCA, we only found out under this Atim gang that your bank account is not safe. What they have done is going to undermine confidence in the banking system beyond our lifetime as we sit here. Because I am telling you, as we speak, whether you are a Fifanto, whether you are a Jinamwa, whatever it is you are, you and I both know that if you get money, you are not going to go and put it in the bank today. The best place to keep your savings is under your bed. You know that. Even my uncle Kwesi, who is a patriot, will agree with me that when you get money, the best place to put it, at least under this government, is not in the bank. Because tomorrow morning, they can tell you something else. This government is the only government in the history of this country that has declared bankruptcy, insolvency period. It is the only government in the history of this country that has expropriated people's money. And expropriation is expressly forbidden in our constitution. But you've done it. Because they can't do anything. This government is the only government in the history of this country that can willy-nilly do anything, defend it, and when they finish, the moral society is quiet. The last time we heard Madam, what's her name? The former head of the DJA. Let me sit well. This is the same one. Remember prior to 2016, when she goes to pray at Aglo, she said the devils running this country should go. 2 weeks ago, she said we have doomed so bad people are getting married. Pasana, you got married not too long ago. When you get married and there's doom, so isn't it better for you? Consider you are going on honeymoon. You need electricity during your honeymoon. Don't laugh. She said there's hardship, but we are smiling. This same woman's financial institution was closed down by this very government. Unity. It belongs to her and her husband. They closed it down. And you know why she can't talk? She's a lawyer. Lawyers call it prior bad acts. Nano. So she can't talk. Why is it that Reverend Otabel cannot talk? His bank has been taken from him. Right? This is the same man who boldly predicted or prophesied that the city will hit 10 cities under President Mahama. That governing a country wasn't that hard. When his bank was taken, and the managing director of the bank was put in jail, was put on trial because he's now in jail, they said now you stop talking about politics. He's watching animals. He's watching the lions of Etosha Park on Discovery. That's what he watches. You see, in my narrative in the beginning, I talked about an old Chinese proverb: be careful what you wish for. They have gotten it. And because they have gotten it, they can't talk. Do you remember my former moderator, Anyansafo? Now he said he doesn't talk about politics anymore. This is the same person who saw that he was brought brown paper with money in it that he refused to. But he still realized that there were dollars in the brown paper bag. So unless my former moderator has X-ray vision or these days MRI vision, how could you tell that there were dollars in the brown paper, that it wasn't a C2 polythene bag? You see, they're all quiet. They're all quiet. Did you hear the Peace Council? The Peace Council supports the EC, right, to engage in ex-ante rigging. Peace Council supports the Electoral Commission and the NPP apparatchiks to engage in ex-ante rigging. Senna, there's a malaise in this country. There's a malaise in this country. And it needs to be corrected. And if God gives the NDC power in 2024, the people of this country are going to expect that correction happens. And I want to encourage my friends in the NDC and my brothers, my comrades, that the time for father or for all is past. The people of this country want justice. The people of this country want you to find and punish the government officials who have stolen their land, who have sold their land to developers, who have disenfranchised them, stolen their pensions, and made them destitute. Etikatasumu will not be tolerated. Sana, how many of us around this table do not know somebody who has died in an accident on the Accra Kumasi road? We don't have a motorable road between our two major cities in this country, and yet we found $250 million to host all the games. We have found $250 million to build a new Bank of Ghana. And if there are any group of people who should be working in a tent during Hamatan It is Bank of Ghana officials. Because they have printed $86 billion illegally against the very Public Financial Management Act for which they were part and contributed to promulgating. Because we are, somebody should correct me, but we're only allowed 5% deficit financing, isn't it? And they have printed it is on the orders of Kenufuriata. We have found money to put up a $10 million residence for the governor of the Bank of Ghana. When teachers haven't been paid, doctors are asking for better conditions. Nurses are leaving this country in droves, like basically like what do you call it? Like a mosquito going to his in-laws' funeral. Right? Other nations, the most xenophobic of all nations, are poaching our health officials with alacrity because of the quality of the training that they've been given. Right? And what we have done is we are allowing it to go on. We hosted and spent $250 million on All Africa Games. And what kind of medals were we winning? Arm wrestling. Right? So we were winning arm wrestling gold medals. $250 million to win arm wrestling. That is what we did. When we could have spent the money building more hospitals. We spent $58 million on that hole. That black hole, that cavern, that monstrous carbuncle that we have left in the middle of Accra. $58 million. Those $58 million, it couldn't have tarred our road. And yet, I tell you what, last year, we borrowed $70 million from the Brazilian government to tar roads in Accra. You can go and ask the DUR. So, Senna, what is wrong with us? And then you have a finance minister, that talking, who comes to tell us that we should be happy that he has rescheduled our execution. In the coming months and days and months, you are going to hear that Timothy has chosen Matthew. Right? Timothy. Well, I said we are hearing that Timothy has chosen Matthew.
He dare not do anything otherwise.
So, Timothy and Matthew, the disciples of deception, arrogance, and failure, between the two of them, Baumia has failed at finance and economics. Right? Matthew, aka Napo, has failed at education and energy. So we have the pillars of failure. Right? And if they manage to steal the election like they are planning to, the EC is planning to steal the election for them, can you imagine what is going to happen? Graduates of a failed system of government now running the government. It's just like the lunatics running the asylum. But in this case, they have stolen mental hospitals. So where do we house them? This country is on a precipice. Senna, we need to be very, 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 very careful, because this country, and there are people around this table who are more steeped in the history of this country than I am, people have been shot for nothing. Given what we have done in this country to the present time, what did we shoot Achampo and Ekufu for? What did we shoot the Nakote for? All the people who have lost their lives. And I think this week marks 45 years since those generals were executed. What did we kill them for? Don't we owe their families an apology? That some of them were shot for borrowing 50,000. Given what we are going through in this country, what will we do to those officials? Our pensions are gone. Our lifestyle. I mean, 3 tomatoes selling for 20 cedis. 3 3 tomatoes selling for 20, both float 2 cedis, 10k, 5 cedis, and the 10k, if you people have noticed, it's yellow corn. The people who bring us the yellow corn, do you know what they do with yellow corn? They feed it to poultry. They feed Adani poultry in Google. Senna.
Engineer Kojo Engineer Twum Boafo number 2. That's Kojo Twum Boafo. Let me do a few of your comments.
So far so good. Say open online portal e wo Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.